So, hello, 5 stars. So excited for this call today. We have such an amazing coach on the line or with us today that's actually going to be speaking. Rhonda Layton here is an elite coach. She has been a coach now for about exactly 5 years, right? September 2010. And she is basically going to go over helping your coaches with the seasons of life, because we all go through seasons with business, with relationships, and I think it's one of those things that once you master this and help your coaches with it, you will be so successful and you'll create such a strong foundation. And I know that's what you have exactly done, Rhonda. You've had so much success in what you are doing, and so I can't wait to hear more of your story. So if you want to go ahead and take it away, that'd be amazing.
Okay, well, first of all, Brittany, thank you so much for asking me to do this. I think that a lot of us, every single person that has started this call said, I don't know what I bring to a value to this group, especially to leaders, especially the fact that I've been a coach for 5 years and there's so many new and great things and so many new coaches doing awesome things. And I'm like, oh, I'm not very good at that. But one thing I do believe that I bring a lot of value to is this concept of leading with the heart. And it's not what everybody can identify with, but I believe it's what helped my team grow a very solid foundation. But that's a very difficult subject to kind of teach in 30 minutes or so. So I was actually talking to one of my mentors the other day, and she was telling me about this old classic book. And so, of course, I got the book, and it was Jim Rohn, which is the best. And I opened it up to the seasons of life. And I thought, well, that's a great subject, and that's very timeless. And then I was listening to a podcast the other day, Lewis Howes, which, by the way, I'm in love with this guy. He's like my personal development boyfriend, but not really. But he was talking about the seasons of life, and I thought this is such a great topic, especially because so many of us are in what I call the fall season. So I'm actually going to share my screen. I'm going to talk about the different seasons of life and how we can identify it, what stage we're in, and then also how we can help our coaches through those stages, as Brittany said. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen, and I'm going to attempt to make this somewhat shorter for you, because I have to pick up my son if I'm late. That probably is not a good thing. But let me see if I can do this. Okay, so the seasons of life. Really, these are just patterns and transitions of life. And if we can understand this, that we can really become successful as coaches. The first thing that I want you to really, really understand and embrace is that change is inevitable. We are in a constant state of motion, whether we are moving forward or retracting. We are never in a steady state. And wherever you are right now, it is exactly where you're supposed to be. And that's something that is very difficult for a lot of coaches to embrace sometimes. That's very difficult for a lot of people to embrace sometimes, because sometimes we're in a crappy spot in our life. But that's exactly where you're supposed to be, because you're supposed to learn something from it. So I want you to understand that transformation is actually a natural part of life, and that change is inevitable. Change is a naturally occurring process. And so if we understand that we're in a state of harmony, we're flowing naturally and effortlessly. And that doesn't mean we're without struggle. It just means we understand that life comes with struggle, life comes with rewards, and that we're just kind of flowing. We understand that circumstances are only temporary, that we know whenever we're in a winter season that we're going to get out of that. But if we don't understand that, we're in a state of resistance. And that's when we're selling ourselves short. And that's when we're hiding, we're retracting. And that's ultimately when we're struggling. That's when our coaches are struggling. And if we don't understand this, we're going to have a lot of difficulties. So the first season really that I wanted to start with, not just because it is actually fall, but this is a season that a lot of us are in right now, because in our business, this typically tends to be a season where it's a little bit slower. So fall is actually a season for survival, mistakes, and problems. That's how I want to identify it. In fall, we tend to think unrealistically, ineffectively, and yes, pessimistically. So I'm going to give you some kind of things to look at to identify if maybe this is the season that you're in. Some words or adjectives associated with fall are anger, anxiety, frustration, stress, disappointment, overwhelm. Overwhelm is a word that we tend to, especially new coaches, veteran coaches, we tend to use a lot. We get very overwhelmed. with a lot of stuff. And that's just because we're in this resistance. We're fighting it. We're changing a lot and we don't understand. All this new stuff is coming into our lives and we don't quite know how to deal with it. So what causes that fall transition? Ineffective decision making. In other words, avoidance. So we could be, even as veteran coaches or as, been in this business a long time, we might get in a state of, we're not doing the behaviors that we're supposed to be doing every day. And we're not working on ourselves every day. And we're kind of avoiding the things that we need to do. And so 3 months down the line, we're like, why is my business not moving? It's because we hadn't been doing the things. We're avoiding those things that really help us propel our business forward. This is also a time where we're really contracting our comfort zone. And what I mean by that is, when, for instance, I'm going to use myself as an example. So Brittany came to me and she said, Rhonda, I think you should do this call. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I offer anything for value. But at the same time, that's me contracting my comfort zone. Whereas I know I provide value. I've been doing this a long time. I've been successful. So therefore I have to provide some kind of value. But if we don't believe in that and we're in this, anger, anxiety, frustration type of mode, we want to just kind of retract. And we want to stay in our little happy little place where we don't have to do things that make us uncomfortable or things that stretch us or things that make our heart flutter and panic, like, having to go speak in front of, 500 people at a Super Saturday or something, which I'm about to do, which is making my heart freak out. But it's okay because I'm going to do it because I have to. Fall is typically a time where we're also blaming, a lot of blame for ineffective decision making. It's so much easier to point the finger. It's so much easier to say people don't want to do this, or my husband's not supporting me in this, or whatever. It's so much easier to blame outside circumstances than it is to actually find the common denominator in all the blaming that we're doing, which is actually us. Fall is also a typical time where we're thinking very pessimistically, where quitting can often be easier. So I'll give you an example of, I know every single coach who has been successful understands this. We recruit a new coach, they come on and they're just supercharged and pumped up and they can't wait to just move this business and just kill it. And they do, and they're just, the first month, 2 months, they're just doing great. And I'm always waiting, I'm waiting until they hit that wall. And they'll hit that wall inevitably. And then that's when a lot of times, if they're not working on themselves, if they don't understand what a fall season looks like, they want to quit. And we've probably lost coaches like this. And so if you can identify those things, and if you can identify those coaches who are just getting super excited right away and know they're going to hit a wall eventually, then we can walk them through these stages and help them get through them. And that means stretching them, it means having them do things that make them uncomfortable, like talking to people outside of their friends and their family network, which is a big stretch for a lot of new coaches. So that's one thing that I know that a lot of us can identify with. And so just be very aware of that. Also be very aware if this is the stage that you're in right now and what you can learn from it. Winter is a season for reflection, hibernation, and planning. Jim Rohn, which I love, who I always listened to when I was first a coach and still do to this day, says, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And winter is really a time to really reflect on that. Winter is a season where of these feelings of guilt, fear, relief, grief, and then finally, my favorite is hope. Because actually, I used to dread winter seasons because they were that time where you really had to dig deep into your personal struggles and really kind of figure out what your weaknesses are. But actually, winters are your most productive seasons in a different type of way because they help you understand who you are more than anything if you're willing to dig deep into those roots of who you really are. How do we transition to these winter seasons? Sometimes it's just, I almost always, especially with newer people and seasoned coaches especially, if we are not working on ourselves every single day, we're going to fall into a winter season. It's inevitable. And then we'll look back and we'll say, well, what is going on? And you're like, you know what? I haven't been working on my personal development. That's why I'm angry. That's why I'm fearful. That's why I feel guilty because my coaches aren't progressing, because you are not working on yourself. Therefore, you're not teaching them anything. Also, uncontrollable circumstances. These are things that we cannot control. I'm going to give you an example of that. And then just our daily ineffective choices. Again, goes back to those daily vital behaviors. If we're not doing the things that we need to do on a daily, consistent basis, we're eventually going to fall into a winter season, and it's going to be a really dark, deep season. So number one, first and foremost, I teach my coaches is personal development. You have to dig deep, deep, deep into that. Find out what your weaknesses are so that you can become better for everybody else. How do we handle winters? Jim Rohn says, mature people see this as an opportunity to grow and to get stronger and to get wiser. It's an opportunity to teach. And honestly, it is absolutely the greatest opportunity to teach and lead, especially for what we do with social media. We just did a call on this last night, and I believe this is probably my team and probably a lot of our team's biggest strength, because this is the time when we're most vulnerable. This is the time when we're weak, and we want to share that. And that's how we connect with people. We don't connect with people necessarily when we're having, greatest success and we're making a lot of money and, everything in our life is going great. There's never been anybody that's been super successful that hasn't had a deep, dark winter season. In fact, most people that are successful say their most defining moments come at their darkest times in life. One of my coaches a couple years ago went through a very traumatic personal thing. And it was at that point that I knew that, I didn't know if she's going to stay as a coach, but I knew that she had to understand this. This was either going to really, really define her as a person and help her later in life and help other people, or it was going to send her a really deep, deep, dark place. And I just decided to really set coaching aside and really help her. And today she's thriving, not only as a coach, as a person, but she's helping other people because she was able to dig deep into that season and figure out what she needed to do in order to grow. So spring is a time for learning, opportunity, and dynamic thinking. Spring is often a time when those people that have been wanting to become a coach for a long, long time, and all of a sudden they're ready, because spring is associated with taking advantage of opportunities. This is when we're feeling most confident. Some adjectives associated with spring are love, trust, gratitude, joy, appreciation. So this is when we're feeling most confident. Maybe we started the 21-day fix, and 21 days later, we're having great results. I just had a coach today post a different profile picture of herself. Do you know, so people do that because they're starting to feel confident in themselves. And now she's ready to coach. People are asking her about what she's doing. So now this is the opportunity for me as her coach to really, coach her well, to say, this is your time. This is your time to reach out to people, to connect with people, to really, really build that strong following and share your story because you have that confidence now. The way we handle spring is really because we have that increased belief. We're, product of the product. So we have this strong belief. We want to share it with people. We want to tell people what we're doing. We want to share our results. Gosh, social media is such an absolute blessing because we have the ability to connect with people instantaneously and share a story all the time. Because of that increased confidence, we're having results, and that brings motivation. Motivation brings progress. Progress brings more people that want to follow. So take advantage of that motivation. This is also a time to set really solid, definitive goals. It's time to think big, go big. Some people think this is cheesy, but make a big, gigantic dream board. I make all my coaches do that because I think it's so awesome to dream big. And my mentor said, she's like, go big. She's always like, if I say I want to do something, I'm like, I don't know. She's like, go big, girl, just do it. And it's kind of scary, but that's the time, and this is the season to absolutely go big. So if you have coaches who are in this season, challenge them right now to really set really lofty goals that scare them, because now is the time they're going to have the confidence to hit those goals. And then finally, summer. Summer is really a season for reward, celebration, and fulfillment. You have to enjoy what you've created. There's a reason that, summits in summer. Summit is a chance for us to celebrate all of our successes. Some of the things that are associated with summer are excitement, passion, euphoria, courage, confidence again. And I love to share these before and after pictures because I actually just saw this on Team Beachbody today. It's somebody that's in in some of the voting. But I thought these pictures were so great because she's in a summer season right now because she's had really amazing results. Those results come from months and months of consistency and daily consistent effort. This also means that we're working on our personal growth every single day, and we're capitalizing on the right opportunities. As coaches, as 5-star coaches, or as we're trying to hit elite, this is the time, we've talked about this before in other calls, that this is the absolute time that we're not, we're not hitting the brakes. This is absolutely, we're hitting, putting our foot on the gas pedal and just going for it because we're setting ourselves up for the next season. So we're capitalizing on those opportunities. We're recruiting. And when you're feeling confident, you're attracting the right people. So summer is the absolute time to really show your best face because that's who you are. The other thing that to keep in mind is that summer is also a time where we're celebrating, and we can quickly transition to a fall or winter season if we're not careful. It's not a season to slide or to kind of put on the brakes. It's a time to just enjoy what we've had, but at the same time really keep that momentum going. So there's a time to reflect. I want you to do this if this is something that you feel that your coaches could really benefit from, or maybe even one-on-one. These are some questions that you can ask yourself to find out what season you are in, identify the season that your coaches are in, and how that you can help them. Which season am I currently transitioning through at this very moment? I think a lot of us are in a winter or fall season right now. It's just kind of across the board, and sometimes, and not everybody, and I don't want to make a generalization, but it's just the time of the year that it's just a little bit more difficult. And how have these seasons shaped my character? What have you learned from the past at this time? What have you learned that you can teach your coaches now? When you learn, you teach. How have the seasons strengthened my character? How have I become stronger because of my struggles? How have I become stronger because of the things that I succeeded at and maybe failed at? And how have the seasons enriched my experience of life? What have you learned from some of the greatest times in your life? Or what have you learned from the most deepest, darkest moments of your life? If we had no winter, the spring would not be so pleasant. If we did not taste adversity, then prosperity would not be so welcome. I thought that was a really great quote, because understanding that no matter where you are in life, you're going to go through these transitions. And finally, I want you to understand that seasons are psychologically beneficial. We have to go through these seasons. We have to go through these seasons because they help us grow and they help us evolve. I think that anybody that works on their self, anybody that reads nonfiction is an evolved person, because really, most people don't. And we're evolved, and this gives us the absolute benefit to help other people grow and evolve. And we have to understand that no matter what stage that we are in our life, this is such a great opportunity. We can take it as a problem, and a lot of people do. And a lot of people will see it as a problem, and they'll stay in a winter state for the rest of their lives. Or we can see those times as opportunities for our greatest chance in life. Because, and this is my final statement, this is my absolute favorite statement, this is why I believe I've been successful as a coach. Because when we learn, we grow. And when we grow, we teach. And when we teach, we help other people become successful. Because that, to me, is ultimately what I want to do. I don't want to just be successful, because then it's isolated and alone. If I help other people become successful, then I'm going to reap the rewards of life. And I hope that everybody, especially as successful coaches, that we really embrace and understand that, because this is so much of a team effort. Embrace your struggle so that we can help other people become successful. That's all I have, Brittany. I whipped through that really fast.
That was awesome. Holy cow. Okay. I will just say, and this obviously coming from a personal experience, but I needed that call. I needed to, because my personal life, that's exactly how I feel. So thank you. I absolutely love that. What questions do you coaches have?
And if I could just add something, it was really weird because sometimes I get nervous to do these calls, but I think this is something I think this is so foundational as coaches, that we understand this, because we can be really, really good at, creating these amazing systems, and we can be really good at doing all these things in our life. But if we don't get the foundation of who we are, then things can crumble really, really quickly. And I've seen that happen. And the one thing that, especially, Brittany, that I would say is that take that struggle and just completely embrace it. My brother is actually my coach, and I've learned so much from him because he's such an amazing person, and he's gone through so many struggles in his life, and every single struggle that he has, he just pulls the reins in, and he just like, what am I supposed to learn from this? And he just becomes better every single time. So I promise you, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and you're supposed to learn something, and it's going to become even better. And remember that all seasons are temporary. A good season is coming.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Can you message me those slides?
Sure. And also, it's a kind of a combination of, I took some from, old school Jim Rohn, and then I found some newer, there's a website I actually got a lot of this information to, but I'll share it with you. Absolutely no problem.
Awesome. Thank you.
What else would you guys like to add or maybe ask questions? I know, Rhonda, what time do you have to pop off, Rhonda?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
Not till like 2:50.
Okay, yeah. So we'll take about 10 more minutes because that was short and sweet. I absolutely loved it. Anything else you guys want to add on to that? How are you going to take this back to your team? Because I know we've had a conversation with every single one of you, about your team and how they are going through a different season, especially if they're a new coach this year and they've never felt maybe felt what is happening right now within their business.
Yeah, I think this is just what I needed to bring back to my team because, I've heard the whole season thing, but never really put it into perspective as detailed as this. And so, there's a lot of our coaches right now who are going through those rough seasons who think that it's over. They think that it's easier just to give up and not work through it, not learn from it. So this is, even personally for me, this is what I needed. So yeah, I'm very thankful for it.
I just think that too. I think it's our personal responsibility as coaches because we have understood that we've all been through these seasons. It's up and down and up and down, and that's why we have teams, and that's why we have success partners, and help us through those times. But it's our responsibility for our coaches because they may not understand what's happening, and it's so easy to retract to that old person. And we actually just did this call on this last night, and one of our coaches, actually Leanne's coach, talked about the more she worked on herself, she wanted to stop working on herself because it scared her because of the person that she was becoming. And I think that if we can teach other people, especially that the fear of success is just as relevant as the fear of failure, and to help them identify that and to validate that all those feelings are completely real, and it'll help them grow.
That is awesome. Do you want
to I was going to say, can I share something real quick? Rhonda's my coach, for those of you who do not know that, but she is actually my personally sponsored coach. And this was the best gift she ever gave me as a coach, hands down. I came into this as a discount coach with no intention to ever work a business. Little did I know as I went along the way, this gift that she gave me about seasons is the reason why I am where I am today. And I take that and I teach that to my team, and it's the best gift you can give your team overall, because in reality, the tools that we have, the fitness programs, Shakeology, those are tools. The real lessons that we're learning are our life experience, our personal development, and that's what makes us who we really are. And that's what we're here to help our coaches do, is really define themselves. So this is my favorite subject that she teaches, and if you can take it to your teams, I guarantee you it makes a huge difference when your team is going through the ebbs and flows of a business. So it's a wonderful, wonderful gift. So thank you, Rhonda.
And I will just attest to Leanne. She is the master at teaching seasons. just from a personal level. She doesn't realize she does it. Well, she does now, but she just shares her life in such a vulnerable way that that's why her business has grown the way it has, because she's not afraid to share her winters or her falls at all.
Absolutely. Rachel had a question. Rachel Voris. She's in the middle of potty training. But she says, how do you handle these seasons living in a place where we don't have actual weather seasons? So it seems like the same thing all the time. Amen. I felt that same way in Florida, so I get you. How do you answer that? Because she is in California. So California, Texas, Florida people. But how do you handle seasons when it feels like it's the same thing over and over? Because there's no seasons.
Yeah, that's actually kind of difficult, because, I actually grew up in North Dakota, where it was like just so completely different all the time. The coldest of cold, and then just beautiful summers. But really, I guess if you kind of understand that seasons is an analogy, and that it's just the phases and the natural shift of life, I would encourage you to maybe read what I read to prepare for this call, because it doesn't actually talk about the actual, seasons, the summer, spring as we know it, but actually just our human evolution. And just to recognize those certain behaviors that we have, where you can recognize it really quickly and how to get out of it. I don't know if that helps at all, because I don't live in a climate that's always the same, other than Texas is just hot all the time and then it's cold. But, I do know that there were certain things that, especially I grew up in North Dakota, and I would be so incredibly depressed during the winter, because I hated the winters. And I would go lay in a tanning booth when I was in college, because it gave me like hope and joy. So whatever it is, I think that, if you're ever feeling that kind of season, that you need to do something that gives you a little bit of joy or makes you happy. And sometimes that means just kind of unplugging. Sometimes that means doing something nice for other people. I'm really, really, really big on that. Being a go-giver. If you haven't read that book, please read that. And then, I don't know, just being able to identify it, I think, is the number one thing.
Very cool. And then Breezy, I'm going to call you out on this, because I think this kind of intertwines, but we talk a lot about harvesting, and I think this directly relays with it, right? Will you kind of speak on the harvesting, if you don't mind, Breezy, because you live in it, and then also her diamond retreat was here in Utah, and Jeff Hill actually spoke to her diamonds for over an hour about harvesting. So do you mind just kind of adding on to that?
Sure. So we actually watched this really great video about an Idaho farmer, and basically it talks about the law of the harvest, like whatever you sow, you reap, basically. So the work and the effort and the time that we're putting into our businesses, ourselves, especially pertaining to this call in particular, what we're putting into ourselves, when harvest time comes, we're going to reap that. But I love it because it's kind of like the same as the seasons, it's like we plant and, we put in the work, the effort, and then we harvest, but it's a process, and you have to go through the whole entire process to see the final reward. And I think that's really similar to the seasons. We kind of have to go through this process, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for?
That is exactly what I'm looking for, because I think, and that's when I'm talking to you coaches, I've been talking so much about harvesting, and because just like what you said, you can't go from one to the next. And so I just wanted you to add on to that, because I knew, you're married to a farmer, you're married, all of those things, you guys live it. So thank you for adding on to that.
I think the thing to add to that too is that Jim Rohn in his book talks about fall as a season to either make no apologies or complaints. So if you have done the work, that you should absolutely enjoy the reaping of the harvest that you've grown. But at the same time, if you haven't done the work, then there's nobody else to blame but yourself. And I think that's really, really important. I think a lot of times, especially if we're having success, sometimes we kind of, we don't want to, is it an ego thing or whatever, but really celebrate your success and celebrate the successes of your coaches if they have done the work to enjoy that harvest. But at the same time, be able to talk to them if they haven't done the work as well.
I love this call. This is like mind-blowing. Not mind-blowing to me, but it's like amazing. Like I really, really love this. Any other coaches have any insight, questions, comments? Crickets. Well, I guess if we don't have anything else to say, all I want to say is thank you, Rhonda. This is huge. So I challenge you now, and just like what every single call that we have is take this back to your team. Just like what Leanne said, Rhonda is her personally sponsored coach. And so by teaching your coaches exactly that, there are seasons to life. Yes, Beachbody, it will give you tools, but it's how you react to what you're going to go through. And just like what you said, Rhonda, and I wrote this down, I loved it, but it's the fear of success. It was on the National Wake Up Call today. It's like you have to be in the mindset that you are going to be successful no matter what, but you have to line up the activities to do so. So you need to address to your coaches, because your coaches may have honestly a huge fear of success because they've never tasted it. Everything has always crumbled in their life. But if you set them up for success and you show them how to go about it and that it is a good thing, I promise you, you will be looked at more than you'll be looked up to like a mentor and somebody that inspires. And from there, the biggest compliment is that they surpass you and are so beyond successful because they see the bigger vision because you believed in them. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Rhonda, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to add on to this?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. And that for anybody that's going to be at leadership, please say hi. Since I haven't really met a lot of you, so I definitely want to say hi. And I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Love it. Thank you all for jumping on today. Such a great call. Nate, welcome. Since you are a new 5-star diamond, thank you for being part of this call as well. So we need a mastermind powwow, right? Yes, we do need a mastermind powwow. So with that being said, I will go ahead and post the recording. I would really challenge you to rewatch this, share it with your teams, because ultimately we are in the fall season. So let's harvest it. Let's make it a great end of year and kick off 2016 with a huge bang. So thank you, coaches. Thanks again, Rhonda. Loved this call.
Oh, thank you.
Bye, coaches.